Hitler was amongst the most hated humans to have ever survived. How strange it was when Hitler ran away to avoid his recruitment into the military. How many Adolf Hitler facts do most of us know that reveal the actual person behind the ruthless dictator? Adolf Hitler may be the most well-known and widely discussed historical character of the 20th century. He was the leader of Nazi Germany prior to and during World War II. And his aggressive, genocidal policies resulted in the deaths of tens of millions of people. They have engraved him into history books amongst the most hated humans to have ever survived. And even though, as notorious as Hitler remains today, his life, which began on April 20, 1889, in Braunau am Inn, Austria-Hungary, was defined by conflict and strife from the start. He was constantly in conflict with his strict father as a child. His father did not appreciate his son's discourteous behaviour in school or his interest in fine arts. Soon after his father's untimely death in 1903, Hitler dropped out of school. He began spending his wealth while studying fine art in Vienna, and twice failing to gain admission to the city's Academy of Fine Arts. Hitler expressed the German nationalism and anti-Semitism that would define his tradition from this time. These feelings only grew stronger during and after his military service in World War I. By 1921, Hitler had attracted attention because of his speeches. He had become the chairperson of what was now known as the Nazi Party. But the beer hall putsch cut his reign short of a failed coup attempt in 1923 that landed him in jail for a year. While imprisoned, Hitler wrote Mein Kampf, the political manifesto that largely defines his views to this day. The book sold 5 million copies over the next decade, bringing Hitler's revolutionary ideas to the common people and helping to raise him to power. Following Hitler's release from prison, millions of Germans responded to the kinds of ideas put forth in Mein Kampf. And the Nazis were soon winning national elections. They eventually gained a majority in parliament. To support Hitler, a few key politicians advised President Paul von Hindenburg that appointing Hitler as Chancellor in 1933 would be a wise decision. The Nazi Party was stronger than ever when Hindenburg died the following year. And Hitler could declare himself the Führer of Germany. After becoming Nazi Germany's leader, he spearheaded both the Second World War and the genocide. Events that cost the lives of at least 40 million people. From his transformation to dictatorship to his suicide alongside new wife Eva Braun near the end of the war in 1945, Hitler's actions would all but severely damage Europe in his pursuit of capture in neighboring countries. While the genocide saw the mass slaughter of Jews, homosexuals, Romani, Poles, the disabled, and anyone else who didn't fit into Hitler's perverted view of a master Aryan race. He was the subject of many books and articles over the next several decades. Several mysterious, paradoxical, and frequently unconfirmed gossips have publicized about Hitler, both during his life and after his death. After all, these are mostly nothing more than misinformation invented by his enemies to defame him as a dangerous psycho. His alleged lack of some sexual organs is a common misperception among mythologists, this believed to be because of insulting wartime songs of Allied troops instead of any actual proof. You can find here a few of the more believable, yet equally mesmerizing, facts about the difficult and complicated, brutal dictator. 1. Hitler ran away to avoid his recruitment in the military prior to the start of World War I. In May 1913, the upcoming tyrant escaped Vienna for Munich, apparently to avert military service. They prosecuted him in January of the succeeding year. And he met a fine and a year in captivity if convicted of a crime of attempting to avoid recruitment. 7. Hitler had an army of talking dogs. As per Dr. Jan Bonderson, Hitler and his accomplices gathered trained dogs with whom they communicated by tapping paws, barking, and wagging their tails, and even got one to bark, Mein Führer. These dogs should help Hitler win the war, which partially explains Hitler's attachment to his dogs, Blondie and Bella. He killed Bella before killing himself. 8. He adored Disney. Since we associate Disney with children's films and family, to Hitler, it represents technological progress, since Snow White featured some fairly spectacular visuals when it was launched in 1937. Thus, according to myth, he was a big fan of King Kong because of the special effects. 9. He was a disappointed artist. It's exciting to imagine on how unique the 20th century might have been if Hitler's adolescent ambitions on becoming a painter had come true. They rejected him for admission to the Academy of Fine Arts in Vienna twice at 18 and 19 years because, even though he had some natural ability for architectural draftsmanship, his images lacked detail and character. The Nazis as well gained notable and priceless works of art, frequently in the name of Kunstschutz, art protection. 10. Hitler lived in a homeless shelter. Hitler's inability to succeed as an artist had serious financial effects. After getting utterly failed in selling his paintings, postcards, and advertisements, his financial resources were so drained that he spent a whole month at 20 in a homeless shelter in Vienna. He afterward lived in a public men's dormitory till the age of 24, just before he gained his father's family wealth and moved to Munich in 1913. 11. Whistling when you wish upon a star was one of Hitler's hobbies. Hitler supposedly felt relieved by whistling songs, such as When You Wish Upon a Star. He amused dinner guests by whistling and indulged in the hobby during times of jubilation, such as after the defeat of Paris in June 1940. Even though the wolf was his nickname, he also liked Who's Afraid of the Big Bad Wolf. Hitler became absent-minded and obsessed as the Germans withdrew from Russia. He used to whistle even while eating back then. Hitler's toothbrush mustache was not always this way. He had a full mustache during World War I. During World War I, soldiers in trenches were subjected to mustard gas and other poisonous gas attacks, and they gave breathing masks to soldiers to keep the gas out. However, during gas attacks, Hitler could not create complete airlocks by pulling his breathing mask over his face because of his long mustache, and he nearly died because of the presence of gas in his mask. Hitler's superiors ordered him to shave his trademark mustache in order to facilitate the use of gas masks. Instead, he trimmed it into the distinct toothbrush shape.